I saw another really, really good movie. Honestly, I don't really know how to start this video, because new shelf. Check out the display. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I moved into this place a couple months ago, and I'm still barely now, like, actually furnishing the place. Hopefully the mic sounds okay. I'm gonna stand or sit a little further back this time, and hopefully it's not as like egregious. But yeah, so I finally got a couple posters over there in the corner, a shelf. I got another shelf out there finally, and I've started to bring some of my nerd shit from my parents' place finally. Um, but buildable Bionicle Grievous, that was a recent acquire, and it's fucking sick. I'm not gonna lie. Um, but yeah, so in this video, I'm talking about another really, really great movie, Project Hail Mary. I did, in fact, go see it. I saw it a little bit ago, and I've just been waiting to make a movie on it. I also saw The Backrooms, and I'm going again to see it tonight with a couple of my buddies. And I figured since I'm rewatching it again, I might as well wait to make a video on it just for when I see it a second time, see if any opinions changed or anything like that, or go over stuff that I may have missed. But I'm really excited to see it again. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Hanging out with some of my old high school boys, so that should be chill. I'm really excited. Um, but yeah, so in this video though, we're gonna talk about Project Hail Mary. I saw it about 2 weeks ago. I want to say maybe just shy of 2 weeks ago, and because it's been so long, I don't have like a ton to say about the movie. Like, I typically nerd out and go scene by scene, but I don't really have that today. Today is mostly just gonna be my like general thoughts and opinions on the movie. I'll rate it at the end, and that'll probably be it. I'm gonna go for a run here right after, and so that'll be fun. But yeah, so I guess without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Project Hail Mary. I had one of my clients, I'm a personal trainer. One of my clients at work was telling me for a while, when it came out, he was like, "Dude, you gotta watch this movie." I actually had like 3 or 4 separate clients come up to me and say, "Hey, you've got to check out this movie, Project Hail Mary." I had this one couple. They told me they saw it in theater like 4 or 5 times. That one client that I was just referencing, he's just a good friend of mine now at this point. Um, he told me he saw it in theaters like 3 times. And I was like, okay, like this has got to be a good movie. One of my old buddies from high school, he was like, "Yo, dude, we should go see this movie." And I was like, okay, like cool, let's go make a night out of it. So we went and we saw it, and it was really good. I think it does live up to the hype. I think on the whole, an incredible film. It's crazy too. That, and I'll talk about, I loved Backrooms. I think Backrooms is my personal favorite movie of the year. I think if I didn't have such an emotional attachment to Backrooms that like I'll talk about when I review that, if I didn't have that level of like personal connection to the movie, the Backrooms, this would easily be my favorite movie of the year. Like no question, by far. This movie was incredible. Um what else can I really say? I have a couple of complaints that like I'll get into in a minute, but for now I just want to stick to the glaze because I think it deserves that much glaze. Um, I wasn't like I've never disliked Ryan Gosling, but I've never been like a Ryan Gosling fan. I don't feel like I've seen enough of his stuff. Like he was in Barbie, but in Barbie, I just I loved the movie. I loved Barbie. I thought it was great, but I just didn't care for Ryan Gosling's character all that much. I didn't think he was that compelling. Um, and so like that's pretty much my only real experience with Ryan Gosling, unless there's just other stuff out there that I'm forgetting. But for the most part, like I didn't think, I was just not a massive Ryan Gosling fan. Um, but he was amazing in this movie. His character is so charming. He in this movie, yeah, he's so good. He's such a fun character. I think this movie did a really good job of balancing like the super heavy emotional beats and those. I'm gonna move that off the record button just in case. But I really like I thought it had really heavy emotional beats, and I thought it hit those beats really well. And then in the same band, I feel like it had a lot of really, really good upbeat, beautiful moments too. I think Rocky, another massive shout out. So, in case you haven't seen it, in case you're living under a rock, like I was, Project Hail Mary. It's a movie essentially about how there's this like streak of something in the sky, and apparently what it is it's like it's bacteria or something, and it's eating the sun. And so within 30 years, the sun's gonna die enough to the point where it would threaten, and the human race would be extinct. And there's this, is it middle school? There's this middle school teacher who wrote a theory like years prior, before I think he became a teacher, because he was like an upper level scientist, but he got into so many fights over his thesis about how like life can live without carbon. I don't remember, something along those lines though. And he ostracized himself from that community basically, right? He got into fights, he called people out, yada yada yada, and so he became a middle school teacher. And the story really begins and opens up with, you first meet him when he's on this ship, and he doesn't remember why he's there or who he is really. And it it starts with his crew. He wakes up from his cryo sleep and his crew is dead basically. And so then we flash back between like him currently on the ship and then how he gets there. And you like live through those memories I like to interpret it as you live through those memories as he remembers basically who he is and why he was on that mission in the first place and how he gets there. And it's really, really cool to see those parallels, right? Because when he is on Earth, right, he's no longer confident. He doesn't really believe in himself when he's doing these projects. He's just really smart and he, ends up figuring stuff out. But he doesn't really believe in himself. But then when he's alone on this ship, and he does meet Rocky, right, which we'll get into in a second. But he has to, like, it's really cool because you get to see the journey of this character understanding who he is or who he used to be and then who he is now. And that's really cool. Like, that, it's beautiful. Ryan Gosling's incredible. So then getting back to the point, or the plot basically. So then what happens is the scientists, right, that are worried for the Earth's extinction, they recruit him and they're like, hey, listen, we need your help. They're pretty reluctant to have him, on board the team, but he proves himself really smart and really worthy, like, right away, right? So then they bring him on, and so that's like the background, and you don't really learn this. You learn this gradually over the movie, you should say. And I think where this movie hits home, one, the concept is great. I think it's the way they tell the story is absolutely incredible. The both perspectives of beforehand, afterhand, like beforehand and then present day. And then I think they do a really good job, one, of developing his character through those two separate like timelines that you cross between, and then also through Rocky. So when he's in space, he feels like he's alone, and he has this emotional moment where he's like, I'm gonna do the best that I can for you guys, the astronauts who gave your life trying to be here with me. He doesn't really understand why he's there yet, but he understands that he is there. He believes it's voluntary, and he feels like he isn't capable, but he says he's gonna do his best to kind of piece together what's happening and then complete the mission that they're on, right? And so then when he's on this mission, he gets to this planet. Oh yeah, and so that's the goal basically. They send him, it's called Project Hail Mary. They send him aboard a ship with the idea there's one star in a distant galaxy, right? With that, like in every other galaxy surrounding it, in theirs currently, they have that line of that bacteria that's like feeding from the sun and killing the star, but there's one planet in one system where the star is alive. It has the same line, but the star isn't dying. And so they're like, well, hey, listen, let's send you out there so that you can gather that intel and then send it back to Earth. And so yeah, so that's how he ends up in space, right? And then you learn together that it's not voluntary, that the other astronauts suffered an explosion, one of them died, and he had to sub in, and it wasn't voluntary. They knocked him out and threw him on the spaceship. And that's one of the twists you learn along the way. Brilliant, by the way, incredible. And yeah, and it's incredible, right? So then pretty shortly, early on in the film, he finds this alien spaceship that's also there, and you learn that alien, its name is Rocky. I mean, well, it's, Rocky is the name that Ryan Gosling's character gives the rock, but it's this like little rock pet kind of thing. It's really cute, actually. And essentially they work out a language to communicate together, and they're both there for the same reason and under the same circumstances, right? They were sent with a crew because their star is dying, and both their crews died on the voyage there, and they're the only two left alive. And so then they become friends, and it's just a movie about like how beautiful and intimate friendship can be, right? And what it means to just love something, and not even like romantically, but just that platonic love where you, like, obviously spoiler warnings, by the way, I don't think I have to say that, like, if you watch these, which I don't think anyone really watches them consistently, but like if you do, I'm always spoiling. I do gotta get better about saying spoilers though, but spoilers. I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, absolutely beautiful character development, because in the beginning, or you learn, right, that his character was too shy and too afraid to go on this mission to save the whole human race, and it evolves into him throwing away the chance, like he believes his own chance at life, to go and save Rocky and Rocky's planet, right? So he sends the ship back home with all the info they gathered on how to save it, and he ends up breaking apart from that ship and going to save Rocky alone, and it's beautiful, like it's unreal, unreal. And it's funny, it's lighthearted, it's emotionally intense, it's brilliant. I can't give it enough positives in that regard. Like, it was so beautiful. It's directed super well. It's acted phenomenally. Some of the scenes are unbelievably incredible, and it is just incredibly sad, right? Like, it is really sad because I really feel like they did such a good job, and so did Ryan, of like bringing you along his emotional journey, right? Like, you feel those emotions of processing, like you actually process those emotions with him as a character, and I thought that was unreal, incredible. So I got to give it its flowers there. Like, that was unbelievable. Um, I would say yeah, I can't glaze that part enough. It's unreal. I would say where I would get into my negatives. I want to leave this review semi-short because I know my reviews have been really long and I want to get better at condensing them to be a little shorter. If it's a really big like the backrooms review might be a little bit longer because I have so much to say about that one because I have such an attachment to it. But I, on average, want to get these reviews a little bit shorter just because I feel like 30 minutes is a long time to just be sitting and yapping. And I love yapping for that long, but like personal reasons, I want to be able to get my point across faster. Um, but I really can't say this enough before I get into my negatives. I do have some stark negatives for sure, at least like personal ones. I don't think they detract from the movie quality at all, but like personal negatives. Um, but yeah, what an incredible experience. Like, that is the first time. Thankfully, Backrooms followed it up pretty well. Backrooms like just came out. Thankfully, that one, and I saw it opening day pretty much. Um, like, thankfully, you know, that movie followed it up really well, and it is my favorite movie of the year so far. But Project Hail Mary was the first time in like a long time that I remember leaving the theater with my buddy, and I was like, wow, what a phenomenal film. Like, I cried a little bit. It was amazing. I don't remember the last time that I left a theater being like, wow, that was like, that was beautiful. So all hats off to that movie, like, for all that. It's incredible. I think the plot is so good. Like, so good. Like, that is such, I'll let that lead into my complaint. I think the plot is incredible. I think it's Interstellar-esque, but that does bring me to one big complaint that I have. And that is, I believe there's some like big logical inconsistencies that like took me out of the immersion a little bit. So what I mean by that is up until he meets Rocky, right? There's a severe and stark element of realism. The planet's dying. We're learning what this stuff is. We're figuring out how it works. We have to cryo freeze you on a multi-year long journey at like super duper fast, right? You have limited food supply. Your co-captains or whatever died in transit. Like, there's this stark element of realism. And then he meets Rocky, so the ships meet, and rather than him being kind of like Rocky, so he's like floating in space, and he kind of like activates like the reverse propulsion or whatever to like slow him down, so he's pausing, he's not drifting. And then Rocky's ship comes over to him, and the way that they send those messages was awesome, but that's where the realism for me got like, and the logical consistency for the movie, like, I felt a really stark split because he just like freely shifts his ship like and wiggles it around all of space trying to avoid Rocky, and Rocky follows. And I think it's really fun, and I think it's like a really like cool moment, and I don't have any complaints about like that being in the movie. My problem is I feel like they set up this really intense, like, Interstellar-esque realism where this journey was supposed to be one way, and they have a lot of these big emotional scenes where it feels like this is a one-way trip for him, but then it feels like the technology completely like the technology that they're implementing to make these things happen has completely outpaced the initial problem of the plot. Like, to build a ship responsible for that level of travel and then also have it be able to like slide back and forth, and some of the technological advancements I just do not think match the circumstance that the movie that like that exigence is put in, if that makes sense. Like I don't feel like those match. I don't feel like that realism continued like is consistent all the way through because when the ship just starts flying around everywhere, I'm like to me that was more akin to like Star Wars or something. Like I wasn't like oh wow this is like a realistic and like gritty adventure anymore. I was like this is like you can kind of play around, and that kind of took some of the realism out. And then going off that, they also have a couple of like logical inconsistencies as well that like semi take you out of the theater. Like there's this one sequence where they're trying to collect the life form on the planet that will help save their planets. And so they drop a collection box, and then they say that they have to pull the collection box up before they go into the atmosphere, like before they leave the atmosphere, and I'm like, they never explain why. Like they don't, they never explain the fact that like if that ship can like freely move in the way it's spaced that it does, it can move like that on the planet better too. And so then the ship, they make like a more Interstellar-esque, and I use that as a comparison because I feel like that's one of the only movies I can think of right now that's comparable. But like where the ship gets damaged, it can barely move on. But it's like, dude, that ship was just flying around. Like, surely it can drift on this planet a little bit. Like, there's leeway there. I don't know. And for me, I just felt like the realism consistency was just like it wasn't very consistent, and that frustrated me because I feel like it took some of the stakes out. When initially, when that movie, when with all those background scenes that they give you, like, or the I guess the exposition that they give you alongside of current day, like that kind of split, when they give you that, that's all so intense and so heavy, and it's balanced perfectly by the humor in the movie and the friendship between Rocky and the main character, and I'm forgetting his name for some reason. But then it's like, that's it. Like the realism for me, like it stops there. And obviously, I'm not expecting this movie to be realistic in any way. That's not kind of the complaint that I'm trying to make. It's more just like like the way they portrayed in the beginning is not how it gets portrayed towards the end, and then the very end, like they bring up a really interesting moral dilemma for the main character because he now has to tell Rocky that he's not going back home. Also because they've ejected some of the fuel chambers. But then so it's like, oh, he can't make it home. But then it's like Rocky and him just build new ones. And I'm like, I mean, I guess, but then then the initial stake of him it being a one-way journey, like that heaviness and that weight is completely gone. And maybe that's like that was part of the point, or maybe it wasn't supposed to land like that, but the way that they were like they did that like off screen too, by the way. Like they just like it was a really emotional moment when we realized the audience like, oh my god, he's not making it home. He just ejected the fuel cells. Like he has no more. And then it's like 3 scenes later, they're like, yeah, we'll see you. Like I'm gonna go back to my world, you go back to your world, and like we'll save our planets. And it's like, okay. But like he built you new fuel chambers and then gave you fuel, which would just make his journey a little bit longer. But your fuel, I don't know. It just to me, it took out some of those stakes, right? Because it wasn't now like it's a big sacrifice. It's more of like it's like a temporary, if I do this now, I have to wait longer before getting home kind of thing. Right? And so that just made this, I don't know. And maybe that was the point of the movie, and maybe that was lost in translation with me. I'm like fully okay with that. But that was a big complaint from me on my end. Like when I left the theater, my buddy, he said the same thing as well. He said that he felt like that was a little bit strange. Um, but man, outside of that though, and again, like that, the only other minor complaint that I had, you could start to feel the runtime of this movie. I think I said that for, what movie did I say that for recently? I said that for another movie recently, but you could feel the runtime of this film. I said it for Mando and Grogu, I think, but like it was long. It was like, and I think the only reason that it was long was because like I felt that like there were too many hard-hitting emotional moments. There were so many moments where it was really slow, like it would be kind of paced really quickly and then kind of slow down a little bit. And I don't necessarily think any of those scenes are bad. I think they're all incredible scenes, but I remember like towards the end of the movie, I was like, okay, another emotional moment. You know what I mean? And I don't think, again, like I don't think it detracts from the quality of the movie or anything like that. I just like I remember feeling it at one point, being like, okay, like this is another emotional beat when again, I feel like some of the stakes were taken out because they erased some of them with some of the decisions in the movie, right? So anyway, but outside of that, I legitimately give Project Hail Mary like a 9.5 out of 10. Like, I know that I just spent like a good portion of this video talking about the complaints, but again, even in the grand scheme of things, that's a small complaint. It was just like every now and then I was like, okay, well, some of these stakes I feel like aren't as, but it doesn't detract the fact that that movie was unbelievable. Um, yeah, I'm gonna post a video on the Backrooms probably either also tonight, like when I get home, I might make a video so it's fresh on my brain, or it'll be tomorrow morning, probably when I record that. But Backrooms review coming up pretty soon. I think in the meantime, I don't really have anything else to yap about. Oh, ooh, I'm absolutely gonna yap about it when I get to it. Andor. This is gonna be a little bit mini rant. I know this video is turning out to be almost 20 minutes long. Whatever. Andor. Holy fuck, what a good show. I've never seen Andor. At least not enough of it to really remember. I've just heard really phenomenal things from it, and I finally started watching it with my partner, and holy shit, is Andor good. Oh my god, I'm not all the way done. I'm not all the way done with the first season. I think I'm on episode 7 or 8, like right as he's getting to the prison arc. And again, I've had it spoiled for me because it's been out for so long. But man, what a treasure to get to watch it. I'm low key. I'm mad at myself for sleeping on it for so long. It's an incredible show. And I'll definitely review that whenever I finish season 1. I've heard season 2 is still pretty good, but just not as good. But I think Andor as a character, super fascinating. Super good show so far. But I do think that's going to be it for today. Hopefully you'll see some more room changes in the coming, months or so as I finally start to like furnish the place now that I have a little bit more time. That's the hope at least. So yeah. But I think that's about it. So yeah.